Thank you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you are listening to, whether you're listening now or going to watch later. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mlungisi Nyathi. I will say it again slowly. Mlungisi Nyathi, and I'm coming to you all the way from Africa, Zimbabwe in particular. Today, our presentation is going to be on localizing and strengthening the solution-focused approach in Africa, advancing the sexual and reproductive health and rights, and psychosocial support for youth in Zimbabwe and South Africa. This is part and parcel of the SF 24-25 annual conference here online. Before I proceed, I'm going to ask Julia to walk us through on how we're going to proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mlungisi. I'm very happy we are meeting today for the very first time. We met for the very first time 10 minutes ago, so we are new to each other, and I'm very glad to be your host on the Solution Focused 24 conference, which has started in Asia, and we are now in Africa, Europe, and then we pass the conference on to the Americas. And what Mlungisi, what you suggested to do is that you take us through the presentation, and then afterwards we will have time for question and answers. The whole session is planned like 30 minutes, and we have an official sharp ending at 2:30, and then those who want to stay a little longer and have more questions can do so. And Mlungisi said it would be good if you have your questions at the end of the presentation. And still, if you strongly feel that you want to ask a question in between, Mlungisi is very happy to answer your question also in between. Anything you want to add, Mlungisi?
No, thank you. That was brief and clear, and I'm quite excited about it. So as we continue, I said my name is Mlungisi Nyathi, and I'm the technical advisor for psychosocial support and youth participation. So where am I coming from? I am coming to you from Terre, Hommes Schweiz. I am coming to you from Terre, Hommes Schweiz. It is an organization, non-political, that is based in Switzerland, formed in the 1950s and has been in operation since then. So I'm having challenges in moving my screen further. In terms of moving the presentation, it's refusing to respond to my. So I'm going to ask Julia, kindly check your email. I sent the same presentation so that you can be screening it as I move. So as Julia is trying to help us on that one, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the organization that I'm working for. I'm working for Terre Hommes Schweiz. It is part and parcel of the Terre Hommes family. It is based in Switzerland, in Basel. We're also operational in Brazil and Colombia. So I'm coming to you from the Zimbabwe, South Africa office. And yes, thank you. So as we proceed now, I'm happy we had a way to work around it. So what is it that we want to achieve through this presentation? So we want to share experiences of localizing solution-focused approach. You're going to realize that solution-focused approach is broad. So how do you localize it? How have you localized it for Zimbabwe and South Africa? We also want to demonstrate how solution-focused approach strengthens psychosocial support that I'll continue to refer as PSS, and sexual reproductive health and rights that I'll continue to say SRHR as we proceed with our presentation. We also want to explore the different interactive tools and peer models that we can utilize, or how we have utilized these peer models in enhancing youth-led change. And then another objective, we also want to offer some insights of how we can then, adapt this in the different context where we operate. I know we are coming from many different places, and we can discuss how we can then, adapt this solution focused approach within our context as we move on. Next slide. So I'd partially answered this one of saying who is Terre Hommes Schweiz TDHS. You can quickly move on those ones. So I said it's politically neutral. We're not a religious organization, founded in 1960 in Switzerland. Operational in 10 countries. We're in Africa, Latin America, and also in Switzerland. In Africa, mostly we're in Mozambique, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and then also programming a little bit in Western Sahara. And then our work is all about solution focused approach, using the solution focused practice in our work. Yes, move. So now, what are the thematic issues that TDHS is focused on? We focus on sexual reproductive health and rights. We are focused on promoting the culture of peace. You realize that in some places there's gang violence, there's no peace, particularly in Nicaragua and these other places. And then when you come to Africa, there's a lot around high HIV incidence and stigma, discrimination. I'll talk about this as we move. We also talk about sustainable livelihoods, income generating projects for different people that we work with. So TDHS collaborates with the local partners in all these areas that I have mentioned, working together with these particular people. Next slide. So now you may want to know, what are some of the challenges that we face in Zimbabwe and South Africa? Why is TDHS collaborating with partners and programming in these areas? So we realize that there's high levels of teenage pregnancies, children as young as 9 years getting pregnant. There is a lot of high HIV incidence, not in as much as it is high, it's higher in especially young people. There's a lot of people who drop out of school. We have got early, forced, and child marriages happening. You also have a lot of gender-based violence that is reported and seen, particularly the intimate partner violence. There is also more challenges as you move with the slide. There is stigma and discrimination, particularly for those children and young people living with HIV or coming from families and homes that are affected by HIV. There is also inadequate provision of youth-friendly services. Healthcare services are not enough, but worse still, the youth-friendly services around SRHR are also, a challenge in this part of the world. So there is a limited access of SRHR information and services. I'm talking about HIV testing, your menstrual hygiene services and things like that. All those challenges, they are happening within the context of the countries that I am currently working in. Next slide. And also there's lack of parental support. So in terms of TDHs now, what is it that we do? We then offer what we call psychosocial support. Psychosocial support, in brief, we were talking about saying, how do we empower these young people? How do we build resilience about them? How do we build their self-esteem? How do we help them cope? We also utilize what we call youth participation. So whereby we are saying, we don't look at young people as just recipients of the different activities, processes, and activities, but we are saying, how do we work together with these young people? How do we input their voice? How do we involve the young people? So these are the two key approaches that we use as TDHS. Next slide. So now, I talked about the two key approaches, that is PSS, and then we talked about youth participation. If you can, sorry, you can go back to the previous slide. So yes, you can end there. So when we're looking at PSS, psychosocial support, what is the pillar of that PSS? The pillar is solution focused approach. Whilst others used the problem solving approach, others used the systematic approach, others used the cognitive behavioral therapy, amongst many others. As TDHS, we chose to be deliberate and said we are going to use the solution focused approach. And how do we define solution focused approach as TDHS? We define it as a counseling approach, a therapy model, but we also define it as a way of thinking, a mindset. It is generally how we look at people, making them important, is how we look at situations and how we work with these different people. So for us as TDHS, this is how we define solution focused approach, not in full, but at least just to give you an insight of how we view solution focused approach. So you can be writing down any questions that you have, and then I'll gladly answer them as we go to the next slide. So we've defined the solution focused approach, what it means for us, and then how do we work. Remember, I said as TDHS we collaborate with partners. That is to say, in Zimbabwe and South Africa we work with partners. Right now we've got 14 locally based within the communities that we work with. So those partners, now what do we do with them? We empower them, we capacitate them. So each partner does what it does, looking at the different themes that I talked about earlier. But we then equip them. For example, some work with volunteers, some have got full-time staff, some work with community leaders, and all those different people. So we capacitate them with skills and knowledge on PSS and also on solution focused approach. So we do we do 2 levels of solution focused approach training. All these are 5 days, and we train all these people. So after that, these communities have got community-based support systems. I know you may not be familiar with this. Some have got what we call village health workers who work within the communities, supporting young people and children to access services. We train all those kind of people using the solution-focused approach. So after we've trained these community systems working with our partners, we then offer ongoing support, meaning to say we then offer platforms for exchange, platforms for further training. We also do visits, we do refresher training, and we share some SFA tools and PSS tools time and again. And this is my role within TDHS to make sure that we collaborate with these partners and community leaders, the young people and the children. I'll explain more as we move. The next slide. So now, how have we localized the solution focused approach? Before I get even into the nitty-gritties, in broadly, what we've done is we've translated different tools into the local languages. Remember that where I'm coming from, we don't use English. We've got many languages. And then within those languages, they've got different proverbs, different sayings that are solution focused. We've come up with a collection of these so that the communities can use them, within their various work. We've also engaged community leaders and the leaders of the partners we work with so that we've got a buy-in. So we cannot impose, but we collaborate with these people well. Furthermore, what have we done? Let's go to the next slide. So in this integration, what we've done a lot. I hope this is not too much. Sorry, previous slide. So what we've done is, number one, we've trained a lot of peer educators. Peer educators are peers who reach out to other peers. Peers who reach out to other young people. So we've trained these in solution-focused approach. We've also trained them to do solution-focused approach, and we coach them time and again. Within our different group therapy sessions, we call them some support groups, different youth groups that do groups therapy sessions. These therapy sessions, we use solution focused approach. Remember of the challenges that I mentioned earlier on, stigma, HIV, etc. So we use solution focused approach. As we facilitate different processes using different tools, we also use solution focused approach. As the parents meet so that they can be able to support the children and young people, they also use the solution focused approach. We've got different tools like the Me Power, Us Power. All of these are solution focused centered, and we've trained and cascaded this to communities so that they can reach out to other people. Let's go to the next slide. So to be more detailed, as we go to the next slide, this is also what we have done. Sorry, I think we have done this one. I think maybe I duplicated it. Let's go to the next slide. So the different SFA tools that we are using, in doing our work, working with children and young people, we use the miracle question, we use the not knowing position, we use the scaling, we use the complements in the different formats. They've been localized, framing, exceptions, copying questions. This is just a few, just to give you an idea of the different things. So we are saying every partner has got different activities, different tools. So we then say, within your manuals, how can you incorporate all these? Because we are not going there to offer solution focused approach as in isolation, but we are cascading it. We are mainstreaming it with already what is working, as they battle with gender-based violence, battle with teenage pregnancies, battle with high HIV incidents, amongst many other challenges that they are facing. Let's go to the next slide. So you're going to realize that some of these tools that are showing on this slide, you might know them. But what we've done on all these slides, we've tried to adapt them to make them more solution focused. And then our partners are using them. We are using what we call a complement shower. We use a complement circle. We have got a Euro book. Some of you may know it. We've adapted it further to be more solution focused. With also what we call the tree of life. These are some of the tools that we have, and I'll gladly share. Even after this, I've one or two that I've prepared that I can share with you. But as I end, I'm going to share my email address. Let's exchange. What do you have? What do I have? Let's talk about this. We've developed our own solution focused approach handbook that the young people, the peer educators are using. And then the SF practitioners guide. That's the one that we use when we are training different solution focused approach practitioners. They can be staff of the partners, they can be youth leaders, they can be peer facilitators. So these are some of the tools, the resources that we've developed over time. We've been implementing the solution focused approach for the past 15 years in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And this is the part and parcel of the package that we are using. Next slide. So what is it that we've seen that is working? You're going to realize that young people are empowered to make informed choices on SRHR when we use the solution focused approach. So it means young people are not doing anything, being forced, but they are empowered to make choices, to say no, to say if they want to indulge in anything, they're empowered to make informed choices. In terms of coping mechanisms, we've strengthened it using the solution focused approach. Remember, here poverty is high, lack of employment, high HIV, stigma, all those challenges I talked about initially. So young people need to cope to the trauma, to the stress. So solution focused approach is working well, especially the peer to peer, where young people reach out to other young people. And then this has led to increased service uptake, especially the SRHR services, because young people are empowered. So we're using all these kind of SF adaptation to help the young people. Let's go to the next slide. The other positive impact that we have seen is young people have got self-esteem that has increased. Young people have got more confidence. There's more autonomy. I'll talk more about that. Young people have improved their problem solving skills. There is a reduced stress and anxiety, and even group cohesion and relations amongst the youth groups that we work with. They have improved because of how we are using the solution focused approach. Next slide. So another thing I've talked about this initially, to say, yes, we can stop there, is fine. Yes, oh, okay. On this one, we've said young people are now active agents, and their leadership skills have improved because of using the solution focused approach. So remember, the client is the expert. So we ask them what they want, we train them, and they are taking initiative. Next slide. So this is this is one of the activities that the young people have been able to plan and implement because of us utilizing the solution focused approach. Remember, we said we are building youth agents. Young people are taking initiative. So last year they planned what we call the youth summit. This was youth led, where young people planned everything, showing that young people are not just recipients of donor funds and donor proposals, but they are inputting into the proposal writing process. The activities that we are doing, they are now influenced more by the agency of the young people. This is just one example, but there are many other examples that I could share, but maybe because of time, I'm going to share just one example. So the young people are empowered, the children are empowered. Whilst more needs to be done, but we can see that already solution focused approach is working in this other side of the world. Let's go to the next slide. But you know what, guys? You always face challenges when you are utilizing the solution focused approach, especially in Africa. I forgot to say this, but let me say it at this particular juncture. Solution focused approach in Africa is a growing phenomenon. A lot of people don't know it. So as TDHS were trying to introduce it, as people are used to these other good therapy models, but for us, we just prefer a solution-focused approach. So what are some of the challenges? Cultural differences. Let me give you a very small example. If you go to Tanzania right now and then you say miracle question, they will never agree with you. Miracle to them is associated with witchcraft, which is very bad. I'm giving you as an example. So meaning to say, when you then introduce solution-focused approach, you need to be mindful of the cultural differences in the backgrounds as you work with different people. Utilize the different things that are already working for them and not come to them as if they don't know anything. They are the experts of their lives. So when you introduce even the solution-focused approach, respect that particular thing, that there are cultural differences. And you've also realized that if someone is not trained or experienced enough, utilizing solution focused approaches is something that is difficult. So what we've done is make sure that we've increased the length of our training sessions, and we have also increased our support through the feedback that we get from the partners and the people we're working with, so that at the end of the day they feel glad and safe to utilize it. Let's go to the next slide. So the other challenge, you can end there, it's okay. The other challenge is, people are used to the problem focused approach, and then you coming in with solution focused approach, whoop, it's not easy, but it's a good challenge that we're facing and we're enjoying it. Let's go to the next slide. So what are some possible things? I've talked about this. Adapt the SFA to the local context. Work with the different leadership structures, the different things that are already working. They identify what is already working, the synergies, build from what is working, and then proceed from there. Feedback is important. Monitor the progress. Make sure that you're in touch with the communities so that at least it's work well. And then also increase awareness and understanding on SFA. Come up with different tools so that people can be able to understand and enjoy solution-focused approach. Next slide. So we've realized that for us, localizing it to the context has helped for us. SFA is not a one-size-fits-all. So adapt to the context. I've also realized that young people have strengths and resources. Let's not look down upon them. Let's work together with them, whether in a refugee setting, different contexts that are challenging. Young people are resilient. Let's empower them through SFA, but not just, let's give them a voice rather. I think that is important. And as we work within SRHR space, it's good to integrate it with other models, mental health and other things. This has worked for us. Next slide. So, colleagues, if you are willing that we connect, let's talk more. I'm there on LinkedIn, Mlungisi Nyathi. Maybe there can be many Mlungisi Nyathis. You might need to claim my face, and I've put in my face as my profile picture. And then that's my email address. I'm free that we can talk talk and talk and talk. I realize our time is almost up with a few minutes. I would be glad, Julia, if there are any questions that I can answer. I know I was fast. Apologies, but thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for your very interesting presentation, Mlungisi. So I would ask we now have 6 participants. We're in total. And I would ask the participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Or as we are so few people, you can also just raise your hand and you could start.
So maybe as colleagues are preparing to ask any questions, if there's any, I've shared just 1 or 2 tools in the chat. We can safely
Bodil
download.
is raising their hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. This was, yes, very, very interesting. I like the way that you're talking a way of thinking or a mindset. That was very nice to hear. And my question to you is actually, you were talking about that it can be adapted to different cultures, and you mentioned the Tanzania miracle question. Do you have some example of what you have done, what was successful in or either Zimbabwe or South Africa? What did you do? What kind of proverbs did you use? Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for the question. For example, what we've done in Tanzania, instead of using the word miracle, we have asked them the other words that we can use. For example, instead of saying you go to sleep and then in the night a miracle happens, you can say, let's just happen. Let's just suppose that you not knowing your wish is granted. How would you know that your wish has been granted? So in that space, I've crafted the miracle question, but I have not used the miracle word because the word miracle to them does not work. And then another way, what we have done is we present to them the assumptions for solution focused approach. For example, to say, if it's not working, try something else. If it's not broken, don't fix it. All those things, we explain to them what all these SF assumptions mean. And then you ask them to go into their groups and then say to them, in your own context, in your own languages, what sayings do you have, or what proverbs do you have that resonate with these sayings? Or maybe you can even start and say, do you agree with these assumptions? How do you look at them? And then after that, if they tell you agree or not, after those discussions, you then say in your groups again, can you tell us any proverbs or names that resonate with these sayings? So that's how, in brief, we've adapted and utilized solution focused approach within the different contexts. Thank you for your question.
Yes, maybe I can also ask a question, Mlungisi. I would like to know whether you are also happy to help other organizations, like, for example, an organization which is already in contact with a solution and focus approach. It's Nyathi Vale Hope Training Center. Maybe you don't know him yet, and it might be very interesting for him to get to know you. Or, for example, another organization that I know, which is working in Tanzania, it's called NAFGEM, Network Against Female Genital Mutilation. And I think for many organizations, the way that you have already gone might be highly motivating and giving them hope to continue and introduce a solution focus approach in what they do.
Thank you so much, Julia, for your question. So to Julia and all colleagues who are listening right now and those who will listen later, at a personal level, I'm willing to interact with anyone and support any process to the capabilities that I can. And then I'm sure TDHS is willing to exchange notes, because we're not the only ones who are doing this. You also have expertise. Let's exchange. Let's talk to each other. And those who want to introduce solution-focused approach from the very word go, and you feel like we can exchange, especially in Africa or any other setting that is more like the same with Africa. we are willing to talk about this. We are willing to be part and parcel of the family. Yes.
Thank
I'll
you.
share again my email. Talk to me. Let's
Thank you
exchange.
very much. Thank you.